Elizabeth Tyson is new projects manager and researcher for the Wilson Center's Science and Technology Innovation Program. She joins us today, as she did about a month ago, to follow up on Science Hack Day, the first ever in Washington, D.C. Looking at some of the numbers you put on paper, 100 people, 13 apps and projects, age range 10 to 80 years old. Pretty amazing. Tell us a little more about the crowd that gathered.
Sure. We had an incredibly diverse audience. And first, I have to attribute it to matching up Kennedy Center's Arts Network and our Science Network, which inherently built in diversity from the start. But you are indeed correct. We had 10-year-olds running around, and we had retirees from 70 to 80 playing with the 10-year-olds. So it was,
were they running around too then?
Maybe they were sitting, but they were certainly helping the younger ones figure out soldering kits. It was a refresher from normal hackathon audiences, which in Silicon Valley lends towards the traditional white male young audience. So we had a different blend. And not only diversity in age, gender, race, but also background. We had designers, we had programmers, we had just curious people who wanted to know what was going on, and they all had something to add.
Was that a broader range than you would find in a place like Silicon Valley as well? The types of professions and interests?
Certainly. It's all about the audience that you're going for. And in Silicon Valley, a lot of the time it's more business driven or entrepreneurial, whereas here it was more, we built a little bit more free form.
Oh, the Kennedy Center Arts crowd changes everything.
Certainly.
Right? And so describe the process, Elizabeth. What happens when people gather? I know there are what you call lightning talks, I believe. Explain what happens.
Yeah, so the start of the event begins with 5-minute lightning talks, and we curated the list to lean heavily towards government agencies. So we wanted government employees to come in and pitch their data, which we had well over 5 agencies ranging from the State Department to NASA. And these are to inspire the hackers. And it goes on for about an hour, and it's definitely traditional standing up and talking to the audience. But afterwards, everyone gathers for lunch and mixes and mingles. And after they're finished, we get up and open the platform for anyone else who might have some ideas on what they want to work on. One person was interested in...
So they're not limited to the topics discussed in the talks?
Correct, okay. Correct. And as we'll discuss on the hacks, they were very divergent and somewhere on the same lines. But people self-organize, and there's that moment of anxiety that you're afraid you're bringing a whole bunch of people from different backgrounds.
Or you might be the last one standing and don't have a project.
Exactly. But I was amazed. Within a couple hours, people had paired off. Also, the nature of the event is you might be interested in methane sensors for a moment, and then you find that group's working on 3D printing, analyzing spit, so you're more interested in that.
Is there any limit to the size of the group that's recommended to make it productive in the time available?
Well, it's funny you say that, because research shows that groups of 4 to 6 is optimal for efficient thinking and for coming up with the best ideas. And I would say that was actually reflected in the most part. And
smaller groups did better.
Well, I wouldn't say they did better, but there was no group larger than 6 or 7, I think.
Perfect.
So it was natural.
So tell us about your favorite outcomes. What are some of the projects?
I will. My personal favorite, and which actually won the Best Use of Data Award, was called If No One Hears It. And it was headed up by David Lagomaciano, a NASA scientist who loves art, and Tracy Bell, who is an artist and arts manager who loves science. And the concept behind it was David actually pitched a lightning talk around the plethora of NASA data available, specifically the Landsat satellite, which collects data using electromagnetic spectrum and results in layers of data on forest coverage. And so him and Tracy were sitting together and were extremely inspired by the arts and the science mashup, and thought that they were sick of seeing images of deforestation, that we were running a risk of becoming numb, that people would see, clear-cut lands and it just wouldn't mean anything anymore. So what they devised was a way to attach tone to a single data layer.
Audio tone.
Audio tone, exactly. It was creating a soundscape of deforestation. And they played, I think they were able to successfully do 3 layers of data And each tone meant something else, a different type of deforestation.
So what's the practical application of that type of technology?
The practical application is twofold. I think first it's a different way of reaching the public. It's a totally different
Just
medium.
to paint a picture in a different way.
Exactly. Communicate using a different sense. And I think you need everything in the arsenal today. Secondfold, it's a different way to analyze the data. Instead of using automated programs or, your human visual sight as you're looking through the data, adding that tone onto it, you might hear a certain tone more often than not and know there's something funky in that layer. So it's useful to scientists and it's useful to the public.
So another one I know was inspired by, indirectly at least, Madeleine Albright making a comment while at an event here about the importance of off-the-record communication in the public policy world.
Yeah, that was also quite exciting too. And they won the Policy Award, which was added because this event was held in DC. And it was spearheaded by a Wilson Center intern, Dan Morgan Russell. And Madeleine Albright, of course, made a claim that there needs to be a more casual interface between lawmakers and policy experts. Plethora of information, such as in the Wilson Center of policy experts, and then lawmakers who are searching for that information. But a lot of the times, especially on divisive and radical initiatives, if a policymaker asks a question, then the media will run with it.
Sure.
And they
puts
can't
them at political risk.
Exactly. So Dan and a team devised a way to anonymize these interactions. They used a series of safeguards like you must have a .gov or a .edu email address to register, and then the rest of your information is anonymized after that.
So some quality control, so you just don't have people up to mischief.
Exactly.
But still, you have the benefit of being anonymous.
Exactly. And it uses the Reddit concept, which is an upvoting system. So users on the platform can vote, what is the best way to tackle ISIS? And you have a response. And the users, it's a self-regulating platform. If they think that answer is good, it'll upvote.
So what happens now? How does something like this go from a conceptual idea that's worked out in 24 hours or less and become something that gains momentum?
With the PolyConnect group, we have actually invited them to come back on July 15th, and they will be presenting to the Wilson Center prior to another larger event. And this gives them time to build out the platform a little bit more, make it more robust, and then present to a potential audience. And they were actually one of the few groups. We had a representative from Amazon there who mentioned, this service is actually needed, and there's a potential to monetize it, which means that there's more impetus to build out the project and potential for it actually becoming something more.
So what about the future of Science Hack Days here at the Wilson Center or anywhere else? What happens next?
Well, I'm
inspired by this success?
Very much so. I'm very, very excited to report that 2 are already planned for next year. The Kennedy Center will be taking it on, and we were kind of mashing up the name. Maybe it would be Art Hack Day. And University of Maryland in their curatorial department that works on museum curation. And they also just recently opened a makerspace, and they're hoping to host one in the spring of 2016.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ready to do it again?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we close, here's a short video piece on the event, courtesy of the Kennedy Center.
DNA.
R2R peaks.
Whitecap hackers. So it was sort of like a near-death lamp.
Because that's our goal. We're telling stories is to get you to experience something, to move you in some way.
We have some kids in the audience. These things are called records.
We're interested in engaging students' minds as young scientists.
Tap into the power of citizen science.
Well, it's up to you. Let's hunt down some methane.